Hi everybody, it's Gemma. Welcome back to Pampered Wolf. If you follow me on Instagram, you will probably have got a little bit of an insight into what I'm going to be reviewing today, because yesterday I went to Leeds and came back with a shed load of new makeup. Now the review and wear test I'm going to be doing today is on a foundation and a concealer that have been around for quite a while. I am a little bit late to this foundation party, but I've heard really good things from quite a few people, so I thought I would try this out for myself. Today we are going to be doing a review on the Too Faced Born This Way foundation and concealer. We're going to see how these sit on an almost 40-year-old skin. My birthday is just around the corner in September, and you know what? I'm really excited to soon be 40. Call me mad, but I am. Let's do a little bit of bump on these products and we'll get some on the face. So this is the Born This Way foundation. It's £29 in the UK, $39 in the US, and you get the standard 30ml or 1 fluid ounce. This comes in 35 different shades and the shade range is quite vast. I've gone for the same shade in the foundation and the concealer because the concealer is already 1 to 2 shades paler than they do the foundation, and I've gone for the shade Swan in both. This gives a medium to full coverage immediately, and they say it's undetectable coverage, so it should be very skin-like. Very skin-like. Should be. Fingers crossed, because that is my sort of foundation. Now this is an oil-free formula, but it does have coconut water in here, which will restore any of the moisture that your skin loses on a daily basis without blocking your pores. Again, fingers crossed. This also has alpine rose in here, which is used to brighten the complexion and also promote the skin's natural elasticity, and it's also got hyaluronic acid in here as well, which again is used to plump the skin, hydrate the skin, and just make it look a lot smoother. This is supposed to give a flawless, natural looking coverage. It's long wearing, up to 12 hours. It's also very photo friendly, so this won't, or so they say, give you any flashback. If you are going to an event or a wedding in the near future and you're having your photograph taken a lot, then this may be one to consider. This is gluten and paraben free. It's also cruelty free and vegan, and all exactly the same applies to the concealer, which has also got 35 shades. Again, I am the same shade in both of these. I've gone for Swan, and you can use this to conceal, contour, highlight and retouch. This is £24 in the UK, $29 in the US, and you get 15ml worth of product, which is a lot for a high-end concealer. Let's get some of this on. Okay, so I have already got all my skincare on my face, and I've given that plenty of time, about 15 minutes to sink in before I'm applying any of the foundation. Given that a really good shake, it doesn't actually say to do that, but I always like to shake my foundations before I pump them out onto the back of my hand or onto a palette or whatever is your preference. So I'm going to put 2 pumps on the back of my hand, which is usually I use between 1.5 and 2 pumps of any foundation. Not sure whether this is going to be the same because I've never tried it before, so I've just put 2 pumps onto the back of my hand. And I have had quite a few of you ask me if I'll do half of my face with a brush and half of my face with a sponge, so I'm going to do that today, if I remember. I really need a post-it note on the camera just to say, stop, sponge time. Okay, we're going to go in with a brush first and see how that, wow. See how that applies. Seriously pigmented product. Seriously pigmented. Oh my goodness. I always thought that Too Faced was a brand for young people. Shame on me, I know, I'm sorry. We're gonna see if this works on a more mature skin today. One that is on the turn, shall we say. Oh dear. Talking about my skin like it's a pint of milk. Oh well. I am going to try this on my mum. For everybody that's shouting at the screen right now, yes, I'm going to try this on my mum. to see whether it works on a skin that is 65 years old. Very good quality skin, but she is 65, so I'm going to try it out on her. This is going on beautifully, really beautifully. Very seamless. Doesn't seem to be attaching itself to any of my dryness. It's a nice coverage, but I am able to spread it out so it's not like it's clinging to the skin and drying down really, really fast. It's just a nice, spreadable product. Okay, let's try this with a brush. As normal, I don't go underneath my eye because I like to keep that for concealer. So this is just a generic sponge. It's not a beauty blender or anything like that. It's just a generic sponge from Superdrug. I think they're about £1. That's a nice coverage, but it's not as much coverage using a sponge as it is with a brush. But very nice all the same. So I am really sorry, I've just turned down the lights. All of a sudden they got very bright, so I'm really sorry if my face has been blinding you for the last 5 minutes. Anyway, they are turned down now, so hopefully you haven't got as much glare from my face as before. I've used all of the 2 pumps of foundation that I put on the back of my hand. I like both of these sides, but it has sank into my fine line on this side where I applied it with a brush. And yet this side, nothing. Does look a little bit drying now it's dried down on my skin around my chin area. It does. It's not the most flattering foundation that I have ever tried. However, we're going to run with it. This may be one of those foundations that looks better after an hour or so. The coverage is excellent, and this does say it's buildable, and as I said, I've done this for the people that wanted full coverage. Let's try and build this up and see whether it goes mask-like, see whether the claims of it being undetectable are true, because at the moment I would say this is pretty undetectable. Very, very happy with it as a medium coverage foundation. You can still see a tiny bit of my skin underneath. You can still see my freckles, so this is definitely not full coverage. The things I do for you. Let's build this up to full coverage, which you know is not my preference. I like skin. I've worked really hard on my skin. I like to be able to see it. But we're going to build it up just for you today. So if you're wanting full coverage, let's see if this will build up. So this side again with a brush, just going to pop it on where I need it. I'm not putting it absolutely everywhere because I don't feel like I need full coverage absolutely everywhere. I am not putting another layer around the corners of my nose. Anywhere that the foundation can go cakey on your skin, you really don't want to be adding another layer. So I'm just going to pop this in areas where I feel like I need it. Wow. Really is a stunning foundation. I prefer it when it first goes on, when it's slightly more luminous. When it dries down, it's nice, it really is, but just around here it just looks a little bit more drying. So I am really loving how this foundation looks on my skin. It's really luminous on my cheek area and on my forehead. You can see the light bouncing back, which I really, really like. I like a luminous finish. I'm a little bit disappointed with how it looks around my chin area. It's starting to look a little bit dry as this dries down, but the rest of my face looks so nice, so I am hoping that this is going to look better throughout the day. This isn't a really stiff product. As you can see, it's quite runny on the back of my hand. I did apply one more little squirt of the foundation to build this up to full coverage, and I've hardly used any at all to build this up to full coverage. So there's a very, very fine line between medium and full coverage with the amount of product that you're going to use. So let's move on to concealer, and I'm going to use exactly the same concealer. So this is the Born This Way concealer. This is the multi-use sculpting concealer, so you can use this to conceal, contour, highlight, and retouch your foundation up throughout the day as well. I'm really excited to try this. Not only does Wayne Goss on his channel say that this is one of the best concealers that he has ever used, but also I popped into my favourite makeup shop the other day, and the lady on the Dior counter, and I won't out her on here, said that she wears this concealer underneath her eyes on a daily basis, even for work on the Dior counter. Not going to out you on here, don't worry. But I really, really appreciated her insight into this product. She said it's one of the only concealers that she can wear underneath her eyes without it creasing throughout the day. It just sticks there, it doesn't move, and it doesn't make her under eye look really dry and cakey either. So really excited to try this. I've put some on the back of my hand, and I'm just going to go in with my concealer brush, tap a little bit of product on, and then take a lot off, and then we're going to go in, because this is super pigmented. This is very much like Tarte Shape Tape for pigmentation. Really, really pigmented. Like, I've hardly applied any whatsoever, and I feel like, oh my goodness, I really need to take some off. Now usually I would just go in with a brush and that would be it, but because of the mass pigmentation, I am going to have to blend this out with a sponge just to make sure it doesn't look ridiculous. Going with a sponge here. Nice. Very, very good coverage. I guess you could go in and apply more if you felt like you needed it, but wow, that is some serious coverage. I've applied slightly less on this side, and I've managed to blend this out with a brush without going in with a sponge. Wow. That is some serious coverage underneath my eyes. So impressed. It looks really natural, and yet you get that mass coverage. Really nice. I'm really hoping that this does not go cakey or creasy or dry my under eyes out at all today, because at the moment I love this. I really love this. Keeping all fingers crossed. I'm going to go and put the rest of my products on, and I'll be right back. So this is the finished look for today. Honestly, if somebody can recommend a really good dry shampoo for me, I would really, really appreciate it, because this morning when I woke up, my hair did not need washing, and now all of a sudden it does. Great. Thank you very much. Anyway, all the products went on really, really nicely, blended really nicely on top of both the concealer and the foundation. What I will say is that when I got to the really well lit mirror behind me to put on the rest of my products, that mirror shows up every single flaw and every single imperfection. Everything you do not want to know about yourself shows up in that mirror. And I will say that the side that I put the foundation on with a blending sponge looks far more seamless and flawless than the side that I put on with a brush. There are patches that did not show up in this lighting that showed up in that lighting of concealer that just isn't blended properly. A little bit of cakiness around this area. I mean, it doesn't look like a Victoria sponge or anything. It's quite dry cakiness. That does not make sense at all. But anyway, there's a little bit of a patch of concealer here that doesn't look like it's been blended properly. Also, when I leant on this foundation, it lifted. So this is one of those foundations that you need to set in place. It felt really well set, but as I've been doing my mascara and possibly leaning on my face, It did lift on the palm of my hand and was visible to the eye, so I have had to blend that back in place again and apply a little bit of powder. I will link all the products that I've used in the description box below. I'm going to show you this in natural lighting. I'm going to get on with my day and I will check in with you a little bit later on. So this is what the foundation looks like in natural lighting. It's not half bad. The concealer isn't bad either. Now I will tell you that the concealer has started to look a little bit creasy underneath my eyes. Don't actually think that's got anything to do with the concealer. I think that's got everything to do with the powder that I used, and I am going to try it with different application methods and also different powders throughout the week to see which one works best. But at the moment, it's not looking bad. It's not the best concealer that I've ever had underneath my eyes, but it's definitely not a bad concealer. Really, really high coverage, so I like it for that aspect of it. But we're going to see how I can make this really work for my skin as the week progresses. The foundation, really liking. Really liking. On my chin area where it looked a little bit dry earlier on as this foundation was drying down, that really isn't there anymore. I don't know if you can see that. As this foundation has warmed up to my natural skin temperature, it's looked so much better than it did before. Even the area on my forehead where I said there was a little bit of a patch of foundation that wasn't blended properly, and I do think that's my fault, putting my makeup on in lighting that is not super lighting or natural lighting. I think if I'd have done that, I would have spotted that patch of foundation and buffed that in before it became an issue. But you can't really see that in this lighting either, which just proves how much of a perfectionist I am when it comes to my foundations. I am rather picky, but this one is looking really, really nice, and for a high coverage foundation, it's looking really natural on my skin. This definitely does not look mask-like. I will check in with you a little bit later on and tell you how I'm getting on. See you all in a bit. Hi everybody, welcome back to the check-in. We are now just shy of 10 hours since I first applied this foundation to my face. It's done super well. Today has been a very good makeup day. This is one of those foundations that looks better the longer you wear it. Now that might not be the same if you have an oilier complexion, because this has got more luminous throughout the day. So if you do have oily skin, it may go slightly cakier in those oily areas. But my oily areas are around my nose. And if I just zoom you in, yes, it's more luminous, but the foundation hasn't broken apart, it hasn't split or gone cakey in any way. And I still have some foundation on the end of my chin, which very, very rarely happens. I am a little bit shocked by this foundation because I like my skin, I like to be able to see my skin, and yet I've found myself absolutely loving this foundation that is super full coverage. I am praying that this is not going to break my skin out, because I'm going to be wearing this for the rest of the week to see how this plays on my skin and how it applies best, how it looks best on my skin. So I'm going to be playing around with setting sprays and different powders and different application methods, because I am loving this foundation today. Really, really liking it. Now I am a little bit more disappointed with the concealer because it has creased a little bit and looks a little bit dry underneath my eyes. You can see some lines under there, which doesn't always happen, but again, I'm going to trial this throughout the week and see how it applies best and try it with lots of different powders. My skin just looks so nice. So nice, really flawless. As soon as I applied this foundation, it airbrushed all my skin out and I loved it. And nothing's really changed throughout the day. My pores don't look more exaggerated as the foundation has got a bit more luminous. The dryness around here, well, I said earlier on in the earlier check-in that that left after about 20 minutes. As soon as the foundation warmed up to my skin, that really disappeared. and it's not come back. It has sank into this line a little bit on the side that I applied the foundation with a brush. So I do think that the best application method at the moment is a blending sponge, but I will update everybody in the comment section in a pinned comment towards the end of the week and let you know my thoughts and opinions after I've been using this for a week, because sometimes my opinion can change a little bit. This is only day one, but for day one, I really like it. This wouldn't usually be my foundation of choice because of the coverage, but for those of you that are full coverage girls and boys, this one might be a winner for you. But do check in after a week and do look at the pinned comments, see what my opinions are after the week. I do hope you found this video helpful. If you have, please do give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel before you leave. There's a watermark in this corner over here. If you click on it, it will take you through to my homepage where you can subscribe. Hope to see you all again soon. Bye!